Enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry, consulting, so inspiring, pushing you to your...
Hello, I'm Crystal Petry, and welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. On this week's podcast, we are going to learn from a self-taught artist. This painting back here is something that she created. She's going to tell us how she became a self-taught artist, and if you are interested in the same thing, she's going to tell you how you can also become a self-taught artist. Welcome to the podcast, Ines Alvidres.
Thank you so much for the invitation. This is a pleasure and always fun too.
Oh, I'm so glad you said yes, because I've never had a self-taught artist, and I feel like that's such a tongue twister because I'm thinking it as I'm saying it. But when I say you are a self-taught artist, what does that mean?
I love that question because I never felt comfortable with that concept.
Really?
Self-taught, no. My background comes from always loving art, always knowing art was relevant, but never seeing it as a career or as something I could do, for a living. So when someone says self-taught, I'm thinking you taught yourself. And I rather use self-educated.
Okay, so that's what we'll start saying, because as I was preparing for this interview, and Ava Graves, a mutual friend of ours, suggested that you would make a great guest on the podcast. That's how she explained, I guess, your career to me as a self-taught artist. And that's immediately what I thought. She completely taught herself how to draw and paint with no help. That's amazing.
Well, I do have a background in drafting, and that comes from Mexico. Then I continued that in the U.S., in Bowman, high school and college. I have a degree in drafting. So it's been helpful. But self-educated, I like to think that way because I didn't have the teacher telling me, read the books or research these artists and do a project or write a paper about them. I was doing that on my own.
Okay.
I was doing research and reading books and watching documentaries, and that's just because I needed that. I wanted that. So I like the idea of self-educating in the arts versus self-taught,
Okay, so as a self-educated artist, you gave yourself homework, because that's what I'm hearing.
Oh, yes. Yes. I had the wonderful experience to spend 4 years with a very talented abstract painter, and him and I will spend days and days just, of course we both work, but if we had 2 days or 3 days off, we will travel and go to every museum, every gallery, every art studio that we were capable to do, and we will do that. On our days off, if we only had 1 day off, we lock ourselves and we look at books and read and went through biographies, and then we got hungry, ate, and then look at more biographies. So it was like a really intense 4 years for me to really just expose myself to art the best way. If anyone up there wants to do art and goes to art school, I think it's wonderful. I mean, a lot of my friends have done it, but I think it's so important for them to expose themselves to the actual museum, the actual gallery, and those books. I mean, those books, and YouTube has everything and anything. So I think exposure and practice really makes it more real.
As you are going to the library, getting the books, YouTube, going to the different galleries with your friend, are you getting ideas from these artists? Okay, that's how I want to paint, or I love how he or she did that, I think I'll incorporate that. What are you taking away during this time?
I feel like I always, because my artwork was not flowers 10 years ago. It was very abstract. When I was in high school, I did a lot of realistic things. So I tell all my students, you need to master the masters to be able to do whatever you want. So when you get different disciplines and techniques down your belt and you can do them, then you can do anything else after that. But I think it's important for you to know how to do the elements and practice the techniques and have the knowledge. It's important for you to have that so you feel confident about your own work. But after that, you know it, but now you do what feels right. And it goes a lot into abstract painting. A lot of people say that, well, that looks like a little kid can do it. No. Abstract painting might be one of the hardest things to create, and I have a lot of respect for that because I did it in the past. But right now I'm in a period when I'm doing very nature-inspired paintings. But I do think that you're influenced by the artists you listen to, you watch. But I'm obsessed with finding out how they live, what they ate, what places they went themselves to have fun. That's kind of where my curiosity came to be, reading all these biographies. Of course, I was interested in their work and their techniques and the period they created it, but I was so much more interested in their social life.
Why were you, okay, this is the first time I'm hearing something like that. Why were you so interested in their social life, where they live, where they ate?
Because when you think of an artist, you think they don't do things like you do. Like you see them as Picasso or Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, you think of them as these famous, powerful artists. But then when you think on their normal life and their issues they had as humans, makes it more tangible.
That is so true, because I know we're talking about art here, but I think that applies in other disciplines as well.
Absolutely.
Like sports coaches, head football coaches, head basketball coaches, teachers. You don't feel like you don't even think or consider their social life outside of their professional, football player, basketball player, teacher. Like, you don't have a life. This is just you.
Yes, when you see their struggles and what they have overcome, allows you to think that, okay, I can do what they did, even though I have the issues I have. So that's why I was so intrigued about that.
Yes.
One of my favorite artists is from Japan, Yayoi Kusama. And Yayoi struggled with mental health her entire life. But she was one of the most amazing artists that I can think. She's still alive, she's still making art. She's probably the most renowned or known female artist alive making, but she struggled with mental health throughout her life. And that makes her so much more powerful to me. So,
Yes. Why is she your favorite artist?
this is a documentary I'm gonna share with you.
Okay.
But she started really early when males were known for being pioneers in a lot of techniques and new arts or forms of art. And this documentary kind of shows her how she was doing that even before they were acclaimed and celebrated by those things.
Mm-hmm.
So she was already doing it before.
That's normally how that goes.
So
That's normally how that goes. Yes.
So that documentary is really beautiful because it shows her very vulnerable, but also how powerful her art is today. And it makes my skin, feel. All the other artists that were celebrated by what she was already doing, they're all gone,
Okay.
She's still breathing and making art, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you become interested in art?
If I can remember when I was born, I will say that, but I don't. The most, I just can tell you when I was in kindergarten, every little piece of painting or drawing that I did was relevant, was important. Mm-hmm. It was not like I did a drawing and put it away and it didn't matter. It was so precious to me. So I think that said a lot. Yes. Because it was not just a piece of paper and crayons. It was more of, I did this.
Right.
And my teachers were so kind from the beginning. They always celebrated and acknowledged that I either had, I don't know how much I believe in talent, I think effort and work, but they knew I have passion and love for what I was doing.
Absolutely. Now, this next question I'm asking because in my mind, when I think of artists, I always think of starving artists.
Yeah.
So when you told your family, your friends that you wanted to be an artist, what was their reaction?
I don't think I ever told them
Really?
officially. No, I do have a story where one morning I had to decide if I was going to do it, yes or no. So I had that moment that I had to do. That morning I said, you either going to get out of bed, because I promised myself not to get out of bed until I knew the answer.
Okay.
That was going to be like, you're not getting out until you know.
Wow.
And it was a conversation in my head. And he says, hey, do you want to do it? Yes or no? And then he said, well, if you do it, fine, do it, be one, go for it. Good. If you say no, good too.
But make a decision.
Don't have to worry about keep learning, keep pushing, just don't do it. Fine, just stop telling people you hope you can be one day.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
So when I decided that, I don't think I told anyone then that I have had that moment. But that morning I woke up and I stepped with my right foot first out of bed. And then the next step I gave, I said, from now on, you're going to walk as an artist. I didn't tell anyone. But I decided to walk as one, and the opportunities were just kept happening because I had decided. So I walked as one, I acted like one. I was still a waitress at a restaurant, but I was no longer a waitress. Now I was an artist waiting tables.
Wow.
That
is amazing, that story.
But the thing is that I think family never saw it as a real job. You know, oh, you're doing shows, have fun, keep pushing.
Yes.
Then they started seeing me doing more and more and going out of town in the bigger projects, and they're like, okay. The day that I say goodbye to the restaurant that I worked for many years, I actually told my manager, I told Brett, look, I only need 2 months. Give me November and December, because those are the busiest days of the month at the restaurant. Just give me those 2 months. I have this huge project. Just let me finish it, and then I'll be back. Starting year, I'll come back to you. And I was realistically only working 2 days a week at the restaurant at that point. And I was showing up with pain on my elbows. So I always shower before work, but I always miss a spot here and there sometimes. And people are like, what is that? And I'm like, oh. And I pull my little shirt down. But that day when I told him, just give me 2 months, he looked at me and he said, I am so proud of you. And I know you're not coming back.
Wow.
And that was probably one of the first times someone acknowledged that I was actually going to do it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, my work there was like my second home. Him saying that was kind of acknowledging that I'm proud of you, and I know you're not coming back. Yes. I'm like, no, I will. And I remember we both have a moment of emotional, and it's been years and years since we had that conversation. My family is more recent. They still were in denial. But I think they acknowledge more and more what I'm doing, but I have so much more to do. So
I think, and I know that we're talking about art, but everyone comes to that decision in their life. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be an artist? Or are you going to do something else? Or are you going to stay in school? Or are you going to do something else? Like, everyone comes to that fork in the road where you have to make a firm decision and stick with that decision. Whichever way you decide to go, just stick with it.
Yeah. I think that we wake up every morning and we make decisions. They're just micro decisions. What shirt are we going to wear? What pants are we going to put on today? What shoes? And the decision we make can make us or break us, kind of way. How do you feel more confident? Blue or red? Red today. But in this case, I always heard people going through really hard periods to have to make an adjustment and change. So do you remember the guy that would like look books with me day and night, go to bookstores, libraries?
Yes.
Well, what it took for me was not being with him anymore. And that morning, after our separation, I was just tired of being sad, tired of missing my companion, and I have to decide for me. Because a lot of the time that I spent with him, I put a lot of my energy and love into his own artwork. But when he was no longer next to me, that's when I had to choose me. And whatever I wanted to do, I was going to do. Yes or no was fine. But the idea to choose me and what I wanted was key. But sometimes we have to go through really rough times to make decisions that will tell us which way we go. Yes. It doesn't matter which one, but those points are like, nothing bad happens to you without a lesson.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have 2 questions from that. Number 1, were you scared to make the decision?
Oh my God, yes. So the conversation went this way. Are you going to do it, yes or no? I don't know, maybe. I mean, this conversation went for a while. Until one last time, these boys, because it was almost like a talk, like a conversation inside my head. And I know it was me, but it was this back and forth. This part of me says like, are you going to do it, yes or no? And this one says like, yes. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, no. We probably need to discuss this a little longer.
Yeah.
No, but when I heard that yes, I knew it was it. And it was scary, and it's still scary today. And I hope I always have that, talking to you at the beginning of the interview. I hope those butterflies never go away.
Never go away.
Never, because that's what keeps me like, it will be just, the excitement.
The nervousness, the anxiousness, it's like you need it.
Yes. One of my favorite artists besides, I have 3. My second one is Georgia O'Keeffe.
I've heard of him. No, I've heard of her. Georgia O'Keeffe.
Amazing.
Yes.
And again, I even went to what she had for breakfast in the mornings. She was a health freak. She smoothies, and she ate very clean. But she said one quote that I love, and I'm not gonna say it exactly the way she said it. But she said there was not a single day in her life that she wasn't terrified, but that didn't stop her from doing what she wanted to do or what she loved to do.
Mm-hmm. So even through the fear, even through the being terrified, you still got to make the decision and live with that decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to your partner. So once you made the decision that I am going to be an artist, even though I'm scared, I'm still going to do this. It also came with the decision of, I don't know if y'all broke up or the relationship, whatever that was, but it also came with that decision saying, I'm going to choose me. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that is such a female thing. Because men, and if I'm wrong, please let me know in my comments. And I'm not male bashing, but I don't feel like men have that thought process that, you know what, I'm going to stop focusing on her and just focus on me and put all my energy and my effort into me. I feel like women do that. We do that. We give our time, our energy, our effort, our encouragement to our partners. And a lot of times we neglect that for ourselves. Yes.
I think it's a mother in all of us. Even if we are mothers or not, we have that maternal, that loving, that caring, that it's so much easier to pour into others than ourselves. But when you have those breakups or those moments of expiration, just call it, because we were it was both, we talk about it, it was fun, it was nothing crazy, but I know the days and weeks and months after that, it was this battle, like, what do I do now, because I was pouring all into you, so now what do I do?
Yes.
But that was by far the beginning. So starting my educating myself with him, he was my beginning, and I could not be with you today if it wasn't for those 4 years. And then after those 4 years, making that decision over 10 years, it was in 2014 when I made that conversation and that decision.
Yes.
So it was necessary, and it was part of it.
Why have you stayed with art for so long? I feel like it's a relationship at this point.
I think I had the relationship before I even thought about doing it as a career. Art was always, when you dream of something, the little girls that want to be a princess when they're little.
Yes.
I feel like that about art.
Okay.
Like me being an artist was like being a princess, something that doesn't exist, right? And then when I grow and I move to the US and I'm giving this huge project to paint in high school and I do it, I'm like, oh my God, I can communicate through painting, I can do this. And then I start reading about artists, but they're all dead. They're like, oh, they did great, but they're all gone, far gone.
That's not fun.
Right, but I'm still in high school, so I still don't know that there's so many working, active, prolific artists, Then I meet a few artists and I'm like, oh. So I believe that you have to meet one in order to become one. Before I knew one, vibrant, young, doesn't matter the age, somebody that is making art, then it became real. The princess was no longer a fantasy, it was people really doing it. So I think my whole life has been this love with the idea, then love with now you do it, you push through it. Now it's like you wake up and you have to make the decision every day. And when I made the decision I was going to be one, I have not stopped thinking and walking and feeling like one.
Well, I feel like, and people say this about marriage, when you get married, every day you have to wake up and choose this. I'm going to stay with her. I'm going to stay with him. You got to make the choice every day to stay.
Because you love them.
Yes, and I feel like that's kind of what I'm hearing you say about your art, that you made that decision, over 10 years ago, but you still have to make the decision every day to be a self-educated artist.
Beautiful analogy. I'm not married. Because I'm thinking, oh my God, what it all comes with it. But it's exactly the same with my artwork. When I marry my artwork, I wake up every morning saying, okay, we're together and we're going to do this together.
Yes.
And it's not always easy. It comes with ups and downs. It's a wonderful analogy. I love it. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad I'm doing it.
Right. Since you made that decision, I feel like with art and with creatives, like as long as you're just like doing it in your free time, it's fun, it's happy, it's your happy place. But once you make it a career, does it take away the fun? Because now, okay, I got to make this painting, I got to sell this painting to pay my light bill and my water bill and eat.
You just turn something in my brain that it's so good. When you put the analogy of marriage, that's the same thing. You either marry and like, okay, I'm just here because I'm stuck with you and I'm going to keep working and because we have children. So it can go either way. I think marriages are all kinds. My marriage with my artwork is the one that I'm choosing to make it fun and exciting. When people say like, oh, we need to make our relationship or our marriage like, different things, do it differently, or go out of town and get away from everyone. And I do that with my artwork. It does take discipline and just hard work is so important. There's a quote, and I love it. They say, Dr. Tara Trent, and she says, the universe has a way to honor our dreams only if we believe, become determined, and work hard towards our goals. So when she put those three, that's kind of the three things that I use with my artwork. I always have to believe in my projects, have to believe on what I'm doing, have to believe, very determined, and the hard work is absolutely necessary. So it is hard, and it does take determination to keep going, but I choose to keep it exciting. Like the painting behind us, I painted for myself, to myself, because I felt like it. You know, it was a gift. I sketch it, then 3 years later, I'm like, you know what? I'm finally gonna paint you. But I kept that sketches there for years. Um, but I choose to do work. I mean, it's my work, and I get to do commissions that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna say into? But once I'm in it, okay, how do I make it fun? How do I make it where I'm not going to want to run away from these projects? I pick projects that that I know they're not easy sometimes, but I choose to be optimistic and make it the best of, you know? So.
Speaking of the artwork behind it, so let's talk about this. And if you're on my Apple podcast, switch over to YouTube podcast so you can see this beautiful art piece. But it is so colorful. We have just like roses, I feel like everywhere. And you were saying that, what is the title of this piece?
15 roses.
15 roses. Does it actually have, I didn't count, but does it have 15 roses in it?
I think so, yes. Yes. 15 or 16.
Okay.
I think it's 15. The title is 15, so it has to be 15.
Okay, so your colors are so vibrant and so gorgeous, and I was telling you before we got on the podcast that I wish this could be my backdrop for every one of my podcasts. It's so gorgeous. So we have yellow roses, orange roses, pink, red. Okay, so just kind of talk me through. We have pink, we have the pink roses. We also have some roses that have not fully bloomed yet. So just kind of talk me through this painting. What were you thinking? What were you feeling as you were doing it? And it's very large. What are the dimensions of this?
It's about 4 feet, 4 by 5, or a bit bigger than that.
Okay, okay.
So I was given this bouquet of flowers years ago. I think it was 2017, 2018. And the flowers were so beautiful. And I remember that was one of the first times that I said, I want to paint them so they never die.
Yes.
But it was also a transition in my life at that point. So I received those flowers, I photographed the flowers, I knew I was going to paint them. But like I said, it was another big transition in my life. So I remember I drew the roses and I left that canvas forgotten. I just put it aside. And about 3 years went by, and then one day I looked at it and I'm like, you know what, it's time to paint you. But it took time for me to actually go for it.
Mm-hmm.
The little flowers, they're actually little, it's a different kind of flower, and they were miniature, but I put them a little bit bigger. So they're not roses, they're just little buds of white.
Okay.
And when they open, they look like that.
Oh, so like the one, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
Like the
Yeah.
5 petals around.
Yeah, but they're really, really beautiful. It's just a stick and then a very circle. But they're like little tiny, about the size of my pinky, very thin flowers.
Now, one of the things that I noticed about this painting, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this, but bear with me. Your flowers are not circular, if you will, so they're like, they have points to them. You understand what I'm saying? Like normally when I see someone that's painted flowers, they're like circular but yours are not like true circular flowers, if I'm explaining that
No, you are.
correctly. Okay.
Yes.
So was that intentional to draw them like that, and why did you decide that?
So, like I mentioned at the beginning, I did a lot of abstract at the beginning. Very abstract, a lot of squares, circles, rectangles. That was the main ingredient for my work, shape and color. When I started doing the flowers and nature and birds, I always wanted to do what I call friendly abstract. So I wanted to do an abstraction that was friendly enough for those that don't like abstract, but abstract enough for those that want abstraction. So I wanted to be in the middle. That's what the flowers are. It's not like I take an object, I cut it in pieces or break it down, and then I put it back together. But then this time it's going to be more of a stained glass or mosaic kind of feeling. So it's me gluing reality into an abstract form, so.
I completely understand that. I completely understand that. Why did you make the switch to nature, to flowers and birds and things like that?
Flowers started with little pencil drawings. Someone started giving me little bouquets of flowers, like wildflowers, and every time I received one, I will color one in. I mean, I was painting my abstract work, and doing all random commissions too at that point. But anytime I was given a little flower bouquet, I would draw it with pencil colors. And then one day I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do a big painting of flowers. And then I kept on going, but I wasn't painting any flowers. Every time I painted flowers were a bouquet of flowers I was given. If I run into the, running, I started seeing all these flowers. I'm like, oh my God, so picture, picture, picture. And every flower I painted, I either smell, touch, I had to experience what I paint. So if I painted flowers because I had some sort of connection with them, I always did that. I've done some commissions where people say, like, look, this was my bouquet when I got married, can you paint it? I've done that before. So I have to be connected to that. COVID was a big shift for me. When COVID happened and I was almost pushed, like I'm glad because COVID was good for me. I was forced to go to nature, and that was my only way to
Like express yourself and get it out?
Probably just the healthy way to manage it.
Yeah.
There was really not much going on in the arts. Art shows, no way. So when I started going to Cattle March every morning to see the sunrise, I started seeing birds. And I'm like, oh, that's such a pretty bird. Photo. And I didn't think I was gonna paint them. But then I run into a few of them and I started getting really familiar with them. And I'm like, this is how a bird watcher is bird, So I started really getting familiar with them, and then that's when I felt that I could give it a chance. And when I started painting them for COVID, I did a series of 7 birds. And I didn't think I was going to show them or who am I going to sell them to. But actually all of them did really well. And that was, I didn't stop. I kept myself busy on COVID, but I was forced to be surrounded, immersed to nature. So I'm thankful. That's why I need birds and flowers. What am I going to do tomorrow? I have no clue.
It's the fun and excitement. It's the fun and excitement of the art.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself as a self-educated artist?
That I'm capable to do more than I think. Like Georgia O'Keeffe said, I'm afraid and terrified every single day of my life. And everything I've done, like random things I've done, speaking in conferences or doing events where I feel vulnerable, dancing with the stars, that I'm like, why are you doing on the stage dancing? So everything that I have done, including art and not, I'm always terrified. But I say yes to that. So what I have learned is that I'm capable to do so much more than I think. And I'm glad I keep saying yes to those things because they keep proving that. But I also learned that there's so much more. And I have not even a clue of what else I can do. What I have learned is that I have to vision what I want, and then it happens. So my job as an artist, as a human, is to keep seeing ahead. What else do you want to do? And it will happen. But my job is to make sure I know clearly what is it that I want.
Do you feel like when you're offered something and you're terrified, that's how you know that you need to say yes to it because of the terror and the nervousness?
I'm getting better at not saying yes to everything because that was one of my, not a problem, but it can be, time is limited.
Yes.
And you have to start saying yes to things that will help you. And say no to things that you're like, I either do that or that. Which one do you want more? It's like eating 2 meals. Which one do you really want? Because once you eat one, you're going to be full, right?
Yes.
So you better be super smart which one you really want to have.
Yes.
Today.
Yes.
You know? So, saying yes to things that afraid me the most sometimes is what I know I need to be. Like, when you get used to the same food, you're like, oh, I know I like that.
Mhm.
I can eat it every day, like that's my favorite. And they put this plate of food that you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. But unless you try, you won't know.
Exactly.
So that's why I keep saying to things that are like super scary. I'm like, okay, there you go. Because I feel like sometimes I leave my lab terrified, like, oh my God, this is next. But when I do a list of all the things I have to do, and I put a little mark on the side, and I love to go back and check, and I list them, and I know how terrified I am about all of them. But then weeks later or months later after I have done it, I run into that list from like March 2022, and I'm like, huh, you actually did that, and I'm like, oh my God, I did. So
That's such a great idea
it feels so good to mark things down.
that you've done. So which one is, okay, so you write, are these things that you want to do, that you like envision yourself doing, that you write down?
These are actually projects that I say yes to that I'm terrified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
all the things that I'm like, hey, would you participate on this play? Would you do this for us? Would you do this? Would you do a show? Or things that scare me, like installing an art show, scary. Picking up the art show, like doing the traveling, the picking up, the transporting. All of those things are like scary because at this point I'm doing it on my own. You know, just like you show up solo one.
Yes.
You're the bad guy on the stage. You're the
Yes.
girl in front of the camera. You're the producer.
Yes.
So I am that for my own work. So when I do all these things that I have to do and they seem impossible for me to even think about doing, then months later when I run into that list and I'm like,
You did that.
and that little mark feels so good when you're like, I did. So the things that I commit, I like to do that list for. The things that I want, I need to start putting a list because I used to and I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, let's get that started again.
Yep.
Our list of terror and then our list of what I want to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so I gotta ask on the flip side of this coin, Ines, what have you had to unlearn about yourself to become a better self-educated artist?
That question I asked you, I remember talking to you about it. Unlearn, I wasn't sure, but then I said, okay, modify or do differently or adjust. So discipline. Going back to Georgia O'Keeffe, one of her ways to be a better artist was healthy exercise, better eating habits, how much you stay out, what time do you go to bed. Those things, when you think of an artist, you think of bohemians, having wine and party and music
Yes.
and drums and I did that.
Fun.
I did that for years and it was pretty fun, but it's not sustainable.
Okay.
And if you want to be professional what you do, I don't care what it is. Because this goes to a doctor. If a doctor can party all day long, all night long, because they have the resources and they have the cool friends, that doctor is not going to be a very good doctor for a while.
Right.
So I feel that with any career. In my case, yoga, eating healthier, choosing how late I stay, how early I go to bed, has been things that I have to adjust. The drums and the wine and the fire bombs and
Yeah.
I experience it and I love that. I love the fact that I had that opportunity, but I had to make some adjustments. And I know it's been a big shift and it's been fun. I mean, I know how to party. The question.
Good.
But I'm choosing to choose my health and my wellness so I can be a stronger painter. Because this is physical too.
Do you consider yourself an artist?
Absolutely. In the morning when I have the conversation,
Yes.
I sign the contract, all like in my head.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's like you asking somebody that is married, do you consider yourself married? Yeah. Very much married.
I woke up today and chose to stay married.
So yeah, and a lot of people something beautiful happened. I'm gonna go a little back because it's related. Whenever I was telling you I was invested in my friend and helping him and giving him all my caring and love so he can be a good artist, I was only helping one person. When I choose to be one, act like one, embrace myself as an artist, guess what? I was able to help way more people. Because now I have a few young students. I have some really good friends that told me how much they loved and wanted to be creative and go farther with it. And I have to be like, you're an artist. I almost like told them, you are. And I introduced them as, this is my friend, so-and-so. I'm going to throw names there. I'm like, this is my friend Cassie, she's an artist. This is my friend Sophia, she's an artist. So I have to throw them like on stage.
Yes.
And you almost have to have somebody that believes in you. And I did that for them. But then when they believe in themselves, now they walk in as one, So I do consider myself an artist. And it was the most scary thing to do. To put yourself at time, like, who are you to say you're an artist? I did that, and I am embracing it.
And you deserve to be called an artist. You deserve that. So for me, when I think, I am not an artist in this sense at all, but I feel like when you're painting, when you're at shows, you're like really vulnerable, like you're putting your stuff out there for the world to see and say, we like this or we don't like this, which I feel like is terrifying. Are you, as an artist, are you concerned, and how much maybe are you concerned about if people like your art or don't like it?
When you love yourself, you don't care what other people think. So if it's yourself but naked there, of course it's going to be uncomfortable. Of course you don't want strangers to get too close and look at you everywhere and too close. I felt like that with my painting. I'm like, oh, they're getting too close. They're going to see my flaws. They're going to see like the things that I don't want anyone to see. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, you're never going to be 100% okay just being there, or putting your artwork that way, but you get more comfortable. And the more you love yourself, the more you love your work, the less you care. And it's not that you don't care, because anytime somebody comes to me and tells me how much they love my artwork, I tell them I'm going to return the compliment right back at them. Because I paint with an open heart. Like I paint with this hope that I'm putting love and intention and my time and my energy into my paintings, and only the people with an open heart can see it. So if I don't get a compliment, or if I don't get oh, I love it, it's okay. It has nothing to do with my artwork. It's just, you see beauty on other things, and it has nothing to do with my artwork. But if somebody tells me or gives me a compliment, I just return the compliment right back at them. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, it's because your heart can see it. Like, your heart is open to be like playful and enjoy the colors and enjoy the shapes and see more than just painting canvas. Mm-hmm. So, yes. There's an analogy that I love, and I tell everyone. I hope it's not too graphic, but I'm going to say it.
Yes.
Anytime you show your artwork, I tell the artists, especially college students, friends that are showing artwork for the first time, when you put a piece of artwork in front of other people, is the exact same thing as putting yourself butt naked.
Oh, just the thought of that scared me.
No, just wait. You're there, and then people get close, and they go this way and that way, and then you're like, oh, you're getting too close, oh, you're getting too close. So, to answer your question, is when you love yourself, you don't care what other people think. So if it's yourself but naked there, of course it's gonna be uncomfortable. Of course you don't want strangers to get too close and look at you everywhere and little too close. I felt like that with my painting. I'm like, oh, they're getting too close. They're gonna see my flaws. They're gonna see like the things that I don't want anyone to see. So I tell people, you're never gonna be 100% okay just being there, or putting your artwork that way, but you get more comfortable. And the more you love yourself, the more you love your work, the less you care. And it's not that you don't care, because anytime somebody comes to me and tells me how much they love my artwork, I tell them I'm going to return the compliment right back at them. Because I paint with an open heart. Like I paint with this hope that I'm putting love and intention and my time and my energy into my paintings, and only the people with an open heart can see it. So if I don't get a compliment, or if I don't get oh, I love it, it's okay. It has nothing to do with my artwork. It's just, you see beauty on other things, and it has nothing to do with my artwork. But if somebody tells me or gives me a compliment, I just return the compliment right back at them. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, no, it's because your heart can see it. Like, your heart is open to be like playful and enjoy the colors and enjoy the shapes and see more than just painting canvas. So, yes.
Would you say that's who you create your artwork for? I mean, I know you create it for yourself, but outside of individual, you create it for people who are open to receive it?
I did an interview at the very beginning of my career. That was actually right after I decided that I was going to do it. I did an interview, and the title was Friendly Abstract, straight from the heart. And then from there, I was like, okay, every company, every institution needs to have what they believe. Like, whenever you read it, this is who I am, what we do, and what we do it for, right? So mine is Ines Alvidres, creates friendly abstract, straight from the heart, always with the hope to put a smile on your face. So I know a lot of artists have that hope, and it's not just for one to do it or use it. I think we all have different goals. But I know a lot of artists, just like me, are hoping that we can make them feel something. In my case, I wanted to smile. I don't care what art does to you, or my friend told me, I don't want you to tell me if you like it or hate it. I want you to tell me, why does it make you feel? When I started creating that way, I wasn't creating artwork for you to like it or don't like it. I wanted to feel something. So that's when it was, my way to create was a whole different route.
If someone, and we hadn't discussed this, but I'm gonna spring it on you. If someone wants to commission you for an art piece, if they want to connect with you, maybe through your socials, how can they do that?
Instagram is a good place to do it. Plus, they get to see almost like a portfolio, because they can get to see, past. For instance, 2017, I didn't start social media right away. I did art for a while without social media, and then I did it. So if you go to my Instagram or Facebook, my website is also, I don't know if we can put on the link or somewhere. But yeah, those are the places that they contact me, my email. And I do get a lot of requests. My only thing with requests or commission is, as long as you're okay with color, as long as you're okay with the way the artwork looks like, then I can do almost anything. But I want to know the story. I want to know why we're painting these, and then that makes my job happy, fun, challenging, because I want to make it the best I can once I know the story. My favorite is when the husband wants something for his wife and she has no clue, and vice versa.
Yes.
I'm always like, I'll have meetings with them, and I'm like, look, for us, for this to work out, this commission, you have to know your wife really well, or your husband really well. Because we're going to paint something that she is going to love. Otherwise, we're not doing our job right.
Yes,
So
yes.
I do a lot of commission work, and if you go to my website, you can see a lot of pictures on the gallery. Most of those were commissioned, and I
Okay.
did for other people. And a lot of them I did because COVID happened, and they're like, I actually love those too. I want those too. And that's the best. When you make things because you just wanted to make them, and somebody say like, I want that.
Excellent. So I'll get your IG, your Instagram, your website, your socials, and I'll put that in the description box below so people could just click and go and commission and even follow you on IG and see your wonderful paintings. What would you say is well, I know you said that like when you were running, you got your inspiration for the flowers, then you went to Cattail Marsh, which is a beautiful place out here in Beaumont, Texas, and that's kind of where you started doing the birds. So would you say that's still your inspiration for drawing the birds and the flowers?
The more I travel, the more I get to be exposed to different flowers, different birds, people that I'm really into bees right now.
Okay.
I get obsessed with things, So knowing the way everything works within the colony and who is doing what. So for me, when I paint a bee, it's not just me painting a bee because I think they're bees and everybody loves bees. No, I go into research. I go into hands-on. I go into, like right now I'm concerned about a beehive that is not a friend of mine. I'm like, is that working? I don't know. Do you see activity? We're so into that right now. So I think every day that I wake up, ideas cross my head, like ideas, and then I'm thinking, okay, that can be a good concept. Then a lot of times I sketch these ideas, and then they later on become paintings.
Okay.
But sometimes it can be a week, a month, or a year, or 2 years, or 3 years. And I'm like, you'll be patiently waiting for me. It's your turn.
Yes.
So
So you sketch it out first, and then you paint.
yes, I like to have a plan. I like to have a color palette. I like to know what I'm going to do. And that's completely different than making abstract. Abstract, you don't do that. You can have an idea in your head and you can possibly sketch, but the way I did abstract in the past, it was more fluid. Like it was just like a song. Like I'm just making up a song or rapping,
Yes, yes.
When you have a song and it's written and you have the notes and the chords, you know what it's gonna sound like. When you're rapping and improvising, that's kind of feel like I created abstract in the past.
Okay. So I know that you said a little bit over 10 years ago you had to make the decision to become an artist. But do you feel like you chose art or did art choose you?
Oh, I use that a lot though. I tell people that they don't choose my artwork choose them.
Okay.
But in my case, with art, I don't know if we're born to when people are struggling to find what they want to do in their life. I always wanted to do this. I didn't think it was realistic. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it at some point. I'm like, oh, what are you thinking, But I think it was both. I think art never left me. I think art was always like you and I together. It was more me, I don't know if I can do this. But it's a really hard question. So it will be, if I say I choose art, it was me. If I say he choose me or the art choose me, I think it was both. I think he never left, that boyfriend that is like, maybe one day she'll say yes. I think he never left my side. And then I always knew that that's who I wanted to be with. I love this analogy because I was like, it was both. You have to be from both.
Okay. What would you say is your personal intention in the space of art?
I have this belief that everything I do sometimes feels like it's just for some people or for some cultures or for my own culture, is it relevant? Is it important? It's always that background that I have that keeps me thinking. I'm like, what if it's just, I mean, if it's just here to be and then it's no longer gonna matter. But internally, my belief, I'm like, no. Everything you do, from that kindergarten piece of coloring piece, from when I used to draw the specials at a board for a restaurant, all of those things were so important for me. The work that I'm doing, I really try to stay with that mentality that is so relevant. I don't know what it's going to do in the future. I don't know what's going to happen to it. But me giving it that level of importance, I think that makes a difference.
So from the time that we've been sitting here, I'm assuming that you make a living, you've made a career of being a self-educated artist, correct?
Yes. And it's so scary. I'm like, am I really doing it? Right now, yes, but I don't know.
We'll see tomorrow.
No, I hope, yeah.
So you sell your artwork, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know how much to sell your artwork for?
I always wanted to be a magical word where I just make art and people say, oh, I love it. And then they're like, okay, it's yours. And then we didn't have to talk about money. You know? And just the money went straight, like outside of this magic transaction. Mm-hmm. And I never saw it. We didn't even talk to it about it. And it just went to this like fun where I can just do what I need to do to continue.
That's a magical
right. But my advice for young students when I speak to them, and the advice that I got from a lot of people when I started was, you need to make sure you value your time, your materials, your experience. That's one of the things that we don't talk a lot. Because what if something it used to take you this long and now it takes you this long, are you going to charge less? No, your experience, I mean, all your years of practice. And so the rule I have is I never want to feel that I'm underpaying myself, but I never want to feel like I'm overcharging anyone. So I know those prices will change and have changed through time, but as long as it feels comfortable in your belly, and you know you're charging for your time, your experience, and your materials, you know. I think a lot of artists made the same mistake where we will put this many hours and we spend this much in materials and paint, and we will sell the painting for this.
Just a little bit.
And we didn't pay even for half of what we put into it. And that's when you feel like, whoa, underpaid. Who did that? Yourself.
Yes.
So that's always gonna hopefully keep getting easier, but it's always you have to think about all those factors. Mm-hmm. How much work, how much intention, how much time is taking. So as long as it feels comfortable in my stomach, and that's gonna keep changing. So I'm just, you know.
Do you feel like your artwork is your legacy? And I know you're very young, so probably too young to be thinking about your legacy, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you feel like your artwork is your legacy?
Yes and no. I feel like that's part of who I am. That's I don't want it to be what defines me, because I do other things. I love when little kids approach me and they just excited to see Miss Ines, and I'm like, oh, Miss Ines. And then 5, 6, 8 years later, they're taller than me,
Oh.
and they come like, Miss Ines, and I'm like, who is this tall,
Yes.
beautiful girl or
Yes.
handsome boy? I'm like, and there's the same little kid that years ago were painting with me, or painted for the first time with me, and they see me with this. I mean, of course, art was what connects us, but my time and love was what they remember. I love quotes, and one of my is like, people don't remember what you say to them, or
Yes.
what you say to them, but at the end of the quote is like, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
So I think how I make people feel is my legacy. Either through my work or my actions, I feel that's my legacy.
Do you set aside time every day, every week to art? Or is it just like, okay, today I'm gonna paint today?
No, every day is art. In art, there's a really well-known artist from England, and she said, if I can just lock myself in the studio and paint all day long, she'll be happy. She said, but it's not realistic. The artist has to go out, meet people, promote, show. Don't get me started in accounting and and organizing and writing and doing interviews like this.
Yes.
Because that's going to help you get your work out. If I can be in the studio all day long, I'd be happy. But I need to be here with you.
Right.
So people can know a little bit more about what is coming from. Who is the person behind the paintbrush, you know?
Right.
So yeah, every day, I try to paint almost every day. Some days are intense. Some days I said, I'm gonna do bookkeeping. And I don't wanna do that, but it has to be done. But it's all related, you know, so every day I do something related to art. If it's me, like yesterday, I took a little time to go to a restaurant. But I did artwork in the morning. I did things related to art. But in the evening, I went and had dinner with a friend, and then we went to a new establishment, and then we went to a new place. And I realized that those 3 places I went, I was connecting with people. I think I got a commission last night out of conversation. So in me even going out for a cup of coffee can be work.
Do you ever get tired of creating art?
No, that's, well, tired physically, you can.
Okay.
Who am I saying to, like, no, I'll never get tired? Of course I get exhausted. And my body sometimes feels like, okay, this is why you need to work out more, this is why you need to eat healthier.
Oh, right.
So you can last longer and endure more. But tired of creating, no. There was always, like, I carry a little notepad. I used to carry my journal everywhere I went. If I didn't have that with me, guess what I would do? I will grab a napkin and a pencil, you know, and that will be time to make something. We always have, so no.
How long did it take you to go from, you know, doing art, having it in your house, to having like an art show, an official art show somewhere?
Oh, that was so good because my friend, him and I did shows together. Look at me calling him my friend, my ex-boyfriend. I'll consider him my friend.
We'll call him whatever you want to call him.
We did things together. We did shows together. We did duos.
Okay.
So we did group shows. Him and I, you know, we did so well together. That's why I was so crazy not to be there. What am I doing now? But one of the last shows we did together, a gallery owner, he owns an antique store, beautiful antique store on Calder and MLK, Finders Fair. He's a wonderful human. He came to that show and he said, hey, if you like to show your artwork in my store, you know, I think you'll be great. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what a great opportunity. You know what I did? I said, hey, I think you should go for that opportunity.
No, you did
I did.
not.
I said, I think you should like go and tell him, hey, look at my work, you should go for it. I didn't even like jumped for it.
But he came to you and said,
Yeah.
okay.
When he was gone, I told my ex, I'm like, you should do this. And you know what he responded to me? He said, he offered you the show to you.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't took it because I still thought that he had way more talent than I did.
Wow.
So, the morning I woke up and I was deciding, am I going to do it yes or no? Guess what I did? The very first thing I did, I put on clothes and I went straight to him.
To the boyfriend?
No, to the guy that offered me the show.
Oh,
Yes.
thank goodness.
Yes, no. At this point, I go straight to Dexter and I said, and by the way, it's not pretty because I'm like,
Are you upset because you're not with the boyfriend?
No, at this point, it's just like this like breakthrough. And I ain't gonna do it. Just went through this breakup. You know, in my head, it's like all these things.
Yes.
So I showed to him, and it's funny now, and I love to think that this is funny because it wasn't it.
It never is.
So I show up to him and I said, this is a year later, right, that he had offered me the show. And I go to him and I say, do you remember me? And of course I remember you. And I said, crying, I said, if you think I'm ready, I'm ready.
Oh.
And he responded, you were ready when I asked you.
No.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, the morning I woke up and I decided I was going to be an artist, I went and got my first show.
I feel like that's unheard of. Like that never happens.
I went and asked him, he said yes, but we had to wait about 6 months to a year, then I had my first show with him.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that, I had a show at the museum, at the cafe. So I have 2 different articles coming with each show. Then there was an artist I wanted to meet terribly, Daryl Trophy. He was gonna have a show, and he's been doing it for years. And he always asks known artists from the community. At this point, I'm just like, I want to do this. I want to find the people. I'm determined, very determined. So I go to a pancake party, and we're painting outside, and we're taking photos. And he's the artist, just being artist. It's pretty fun. Like, if I can write a book about these things, it's pretty incredible. So I'm at a pancake party. It's a lot of artists. And then someone told me, Daryl Trophy's here. Who is he? I never met him, never seen his face. Like, see the guy with the overalls. I always love overalls, and he likes overalls a lot too. So I see him, he's about to leave the house. And I think he's leaving through a window. Like, this is kind of party, like, big windows. You see the windows.
Is this with the drums and the music party?
Yeah. So I run after Daryl Trophy, and I asked him, my name is Ines Alvidres. I know you're having a hard show, and I would love the opportunity to work with you.
Just like that?
Yeah. And I don't know if he told me, come show me something or come to the studio. And that was the beginning of relationship or friendship. He became a mentor. He became somebody that I can go after working at the restaurant all day long, and I'll go to him and speak about art. So I always find somebody to help me keep educating myself.
Mm-hmm.
So self-taught is like I'm teaching myself everything now. Self-educated is I'm finding the books and I'm finding the people that are helping me continue the education.
Mm-hmm.
He is no longer with us, but he left a legacy through his teachings and his experiences, and he told me, so he gave me so much advice. I still need some advice to take from him. So I'm still working on things that he left for me to do, and I still need to do.
I feel like he left his legacy through you as well.
He did that to many of us. I think he was that for a lot of us. And we need people like him, and I hope I am becoming that for other people. Otherwise, what are we here for? I'm not here just to paint. No, it's more than that.
And that goes back to the question of, is art your legacy? But like you said, it's more than art that is your legacy.
Absolutely.
When you do have an art show, how do you know or how do you select which pieces are going to be in that show?
That makes me laugh because I did my show at Dexter's, and him and I had a conversation, and he said, look, Ines, I need you to be ready in case somebody comes to you right now and say, I'll give you a show. I want you to say, I'm ready. That means keep inventory, keep paintings, keep painting, so when somebody comes with an opportunity, you're ready. Oh, I think Oprah Winfrey was the one that said, I don't believe in luck. I believe being prepared for an opportunity.
Yes.
So, when I have a show and I have time to prepare, I come up with concepts, I come with a title, and I want to make the show where you walk and you emerge in that title. One of the shows that I was asked to do, and I'm going to do again, November in Waco at the Mayborn Museum.
Is this November 2024?
No, this one, I don't have the specific dates yet,
Okay.
but it's going to be for Dia de los Muertos, which is November 1st.
Okay.
So it will be the end of November and the beginning of November. And it might go for a month or two.
Okay.
But the very first time they offered me that show was about 4 years ago. They called me and were like, hey, Ines, how would you feel about doing a show? And I'm like, oh my God. Yes, you know what I picked? Whatever I had.
Yeah.
I went back to pieces from 2015, 2017, 20. I even borrowed some from a friend that he had purchased in the past. I'm like, can I borrow that big, beautiful painting? That was one of my first florals that I ever done. So that time, I picked whatever I had. But if the show is, or the invitation is with enough time in advance, then I get to create a whole concept of what I want to show.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like Dexter, his name from Finders
Fair? Mm-hmm.
Finders Fair, was so instrumental in your life. And I don't know how long he was in your life,
Right.
but for the time that he was there, it sounds like he was really instrumental.
So many of people in my life, I can tell you Dexter, I can tell you Daryl Trupping, but then there's one more, Homer Pillsbury. Homer Pillsbury has been with me. Funny story, this is so juicy, I hope.
Tell us.
The only reason I met Homer Pillsbury is because my ex-boyfriend introduced me to him.
Oh, okay.
I think I can say this because my mom never really loved the idea of me being with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
She never liked him, neither my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever we broke up, my mom came back one day and she's like, you know what? Something really good came out of that relationship. And I'm like, what is it? You know? And she says, you got to keep Homer. But I did. I'm going back to your question. My very first show was still with my ex, but the reason I did that show is because Homer told me, you can do it. And I said, no, I cannot. No, I cannot. It's scary. It was out in the park in Orange. And I was so afraid to do it. And back then he said, look, we're going to put everything in my car and we're going to do it. And he's been supporting me since the beginning. I met him in 2011. And Homer has been always a rock. So I can mention them three, you know, and there's other people that I can mention that have very, very fundamental for me to be here. But I can say the three of them were really just like, not like, maybe you should, no,
Right.
do this, do that. In order for you to be here, you need to do this. So each one of them were just the kind of direction I needed, very direct.
Mm-hmm. I know you said you waited until much later to get on social media and kind of showcase your art that way. How has social media helped you as an artist and helped like get the word out about your artwork?
I was really happy without it.
We all were really happy without it.
I was so happy without social media because what happened is it became more work. You like bookkeeping?
It is more work.
Social media is just like one more thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it allowed me to meet people from all around, to keep up with friends that The show, I'm actually have a show in Houston this weekend, and I know this interview will be shown later, but this weekend I'm going to Houston, and I met someone in Houston. We became friends. We stayed in touch through social media. We've done 2 shows already, and it's going to be a beautiful group show at the Bayou in Houston. But the only reason we connected that deep is because of social media. Otherwise, no. I have some friends all over the world, and I met them in person, and I have experiences with them. But because of social media, I get to see what they're eating, how they do it, and myself.
Which is something you love to find out, the social part of the artist.
Right.
Yes.
In that case, in my personal, my social media is exclusively work. For them to find out my personal, they're gonna have to read my book if I ever wrote. Right?
You need to write your book, and then you can come back on the podcast and talk about it. You've had some amazing experiences. Like just a few stories you told on this podcast have been crazy.
There's some that are probably like,
Put it in the book.
yeah, you have to read the book.
Yes.
But yeah, so social media, super important. I did decide at the beginning when I started social media was I'm going to treat it as a temple, as a what do you call a place, like retreat, like a sanctuary,
Okay.
like a sanctuary where you go and it's a safe place. You can put your daughter and let her go in there and she'll be safe. You can show your grandma and your grandma's like, huh. So that's kind of what I wanted my social media to be, a really safe place, and it's been super helpful.
Excellent. Well, I have just loved this interview. I have loved this interview.
Yeah, no, it's been
You are
pleasure.
such an exciting artist.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
I can tell you the adventures I had. I love traveling. I love solo traveling, and I always find my way in the most interesting places, and I feel about this interview. That's how I feel about it.
Yes.
You just say yes to things, and then before you know, you're doing something that you didn't know what it was gonna be or what was it gonna taste like, you know. And me saying yes to things, it allows me to have these kind of experiences.
Okay. So I have just a couple more questions for you, then I'll let you go. So I think this next question is going to be super fun for me. What is something that would be unique or different or fun about you as an artist that people would be shocked to know?
Ooh. Oh man. A lot of my good friends tell me that I'm a hippie.
Okay.
But
A hippie like from the 70s, a hippie?
I should have been born in a different era.
Okay.
You know, I should have been in a different time. Like people that know me or like they see me, they're like, okay, you're very structured or you know, I am very free spirit. I love traveling. I love food, and I will eat almost anything unless I give my time like periods of detoxing or doing things like that. But when I'm in my like free time to experience life, I eat everything and anything. It can be moving in the plate, and I'm like, I'll put it.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Yes.
Like I love going to markets from international markets, and if I see something that I never had in my life, I must have that. Like it might be, I don't know, you name it, crickets or chicken feet. I don't know, you name it. I'm like, I have to have that, you know, and I usually enjoy it. So people that know me well, it's no big deal. Like they know I am that person. But
Yes.
people that don't know me very well will not know how adventurous I am. I'm afraid of everything, but once I'm in it, I am super ready to explore and to experience things that people will be like, oh what are you doing in that street in Chicago? And I'm like, I don't know.
I was just there.
It was close to Chinatown. And I wanted to go to Chinatown.
Yes.
So yeah, I like to explore. I like adventure. And a few of my friends tell me, how are you alive still? And I'm like, I don't. To that point, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so before I ask my very last question, I'm just gonna point out that your nails are even artistic. Like, I've been looking at them the entire time we've been doing this podcast.
We'll do a close-up.
Yes, I'll have to take a picture so I can put it in. But even your nails are artistic. So it's like paint splattered? Did you do that?
Actually, the very first interview I did for the newspaper in Bowman, I had the same nail style, and they took a photo for the newspapers, and they photographed my fans, and I was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same thing. So, I didn't do nail polish for many years. I'm like, I don't want nail polish. I work all the time. They chip. And I thought, all these other things, like, it's not natural, I went through that hippie period where, like, no. Recently, when I did the Love Yourself talk to woman leadership work,
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what, I'm gonna get a pedicure and a manicure. And I was like, and then it felt really nice to have my nails painted. So it was this pretty pink. And yesterday I was putting all my paints ready for my trip or for my event at the Giving Field.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting ready for that, and my hands were covered in paint. So when I wash it off, everything comes off except for what was in my nails.
No.
So my hands look exactly like my nails, but covered. So I scrape it off. Once I see the design, I get a clear polish, and then I just clear coat it. And then you have
Right.
it beautiful.
It is so gorgeous.
Doesn't it look like graffiti? Like,
Yes! I love it. Wow, okay. I've been looking at your nails. I was like, her nails are even artistic.
and this is how my pants look like. My clothes always
Yes.
look this way, so.
Wow. That's a new style. You should. That's a new style for pedicures and manicures.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a new style. Okay. So my final question for you: who do you think would make a great guest on the podcast? But you have to help me get them on.
Okay. There's a wonderful young. I don't even want to call him man or young man. He's just a very talented artist. For you to be able to embrace your own artwork, I think it's so important to embrace other artists and other creatives. I could not create art if I wasn't so into live music. Live music allows me to make art.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of him, I just love his passion for nature, his ability to paint, draw. Well, it's mainly drawing, pencil, ink. He's an amazing photographer, but also his life and what's around him. You won't believe everything he's gone through and what he's doing. Like, that's like, when you told me, like, who can I interview? And I'm like, Ken Petry.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for saying yes.
No, thank you.
Thank you for saying yes to the podcast. I have really enjoyed myself with you.
Oh no, I've had a blast.
And thank you so much for tuning in, watching, listening, and learning. You can get this podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Come on, let's go on a journey. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry Consult.